Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rowing chat. I'm Rebecca Caro, and this week we have a fabulous guest who I'm going to reveal to you in a minute. But first, it's important that we support the sponsors who are generous enough to help us bring you rowing chat. And remember, the more you can support them, the better it is for us. Do you get a sore butt when you're rowing? You're not alone. The Danish international lightweight, Eskild Ebbesen, not only got a sore backside, he also lost feeling in his legs during long ergs. After much research, his team found that raising his perineum up helped both relieve symptoms and also assist with general muscle soreness. They found that different people need varying support, and so they designed a seat pad which has 3 separate inserts. They go under the pad and they're soft, medium, or hard, depending on how much lift you need. And this is the Citius Remex seat pad. I got to try it out recently, and I found the distinctive lifting sensation was a little bit curious to begin with, but I got used to it quite quickly. And I also tested out the different stiffness inserts to work out which one suited me best. You can also use the seat pad just as a cushion without the inserts. Have a look at the seat pad on our website sponsors page, which is rowing.chat/sponsor/rowing-seat-pad. Rowing Related provides great independent journalism, which is a valuable commodity nowadays. Rowing newspapers are no exception. Brian Kitch writes at rowingrelated.com, and his detailed knowledge of the sport has built its reputation as an excellent source of information, news, and opinion. You can get yourself a subscription to his monthly newsletter with a 20% discount for your first year for this exclusive offer just for Rowing Chat listeners. Read his introductory article, which is free, called The Future of Rowing at the Olympics: How Rowing Should Adapt to Stay Relevant and Grow Its Base on the World's Grandest Stage. You'll find it at rowingrelated.com. To get the discount, go to the Rowing Chat sponsors page. Now, my guest today is Jack Nunn, who is a wonderful American rower who not only rowed, like many of us did, as a volunteer, as a participant, but also now works in a rowing business. Jack, welcome to Rowing Chat. You're muted for some reason. Hang on a minute. You've chosen to mute yourself, Jack. You've got to click something on your screen. Somehow you've muted yourself. Under your name.
Oh, not sure how I did that. Is that good? Sorry about that.
So introduce yourself and tell the listeners about yourself and rowing.
Yeah, so thank you for having me on the show. I'm really honored to be on it. I actually have your book, and I was a author in it, Rowing Tales 2018. So thank you very much for including me in that. Yeah, so I started rowing when I was 15 years old in the junior stage at Long Beach. I actually started rowing when I was about 5, forcefully from my father, Jack Nunn, who won a bronze medal at the 68 Olympic Games, as well as being a coach for the men's Olympic team in 1976. But yeah, so I started rowing my whole life basically, but didn't really pick it up until a junior at Long Beach when I was about 15, 16. Rowed 2 years, got a scholarship to go to Berkeley, and rowed at Berkeley under Craig Emerkanian was my freshman coach, and then Steve Gladstone was my varsity coach. And we won 3 national championships and 4 Pac-10s. Back then it was Pac-10s. Championships, and I think I only lost 3 races the entire time I was there, which is really awesome. And then went on from there, won a silver medal on the national team at Nations Cup in 2001. And then was on the national team from 2001 to about 2006, where I retired from, national team rowing. But I took up masters rowing pretty much right after in that time. And then rowed masters, continued on from 2006 all the way till now. So I always kept rowing, a huge part of my life. Been all over the world, rowed at 3 World's Masters games, won a bunch of medals, other medals in triathlon and duathlon as well, but mostly rowing. And then carried over, started Rowworks in 2008, which is an indoor rowing center. And we specialize in just classes. We're 5 feet from the water, Long Beach Marine Stadium, the site of the 1932 Olympics, where the University of California, Berkeley won a gold medal in 1932. And it was the site of 4 Olympic Games from 1968, where my dad qualified for the 68 Olympics there, along with John Van Blum and Joan Van Blum in 76. It was also the site of the 84 Olympics for the sailing event and also trials. And hopefully it'll be LA in 2028 for future site for the Olympics there. The only asterisk is that FISA, they have to agree on a shorter course, which, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, we focus on indoor rowing classes. It's a great way to work out, full body, low impact. And yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years. It's hard to imagine, actually. It's been that long, but it's been great. Changed a lot of lives. A lot of people have lost weight, swear by it now. And so I feel like I've owed something back to rowing. And this is definitely a way to do it.
Tell me, Rowworks is specifically an ergo gym, is it?
Yeah. So
what's special about it?
Well, it's like I said, it's an Olympic venue, like over and over, multiple Olympic venue, multiple time Olympic venue, and so we have instructors there that Joan Van Blum have taught classes in the past. My dad will help out coach. Rob Perot, who's one of our best master rowers, will help, is actually teaching weekly classes now. I'm teaching classes. So with the class, you get a real genuine rowing workout. You get a lot of stories that come with it. Because we all know rowing can be redundant, kind of be like, why care about it? So I'm trying to get people to think differently about the sport. Also, what it can do for you as far as a full body, low impact workout. I personally have used it for training for triathlons, which has become a new passion for me. Ironmans, different various endurance events, marathons, obviously rowing for running. Has been in numerous magazines. It's starting to become a real hot kind of fad workout as far as like the new workout. It's been talked about for a while now. I think it's kind of breaking through. It's ironic because rowing's like one of the oldest sports, right? That we've had ever in the world. So, but I think people are starting to kind of listen and take notice. So it's a cool thing. And then we're right on the water. So the views are spectacular, and we have sunset in California, nice weather. So it's been great.
Do you have to have air conditioning in the studio?
No, we just open the windows. So
yay!
Yeah.
Which
Open
is
the windows. Yeah.
correct answer.
Yeah.
So what fun then to have all sorts of members of the public who get coached by Olympic legends in a studio.
Yeah, it's great. And I tell lots of stories of coaches. Been really lucky, actually. There was an article in US Rowing years ago that listed top 12 coaches ever in the history of US Rowing. And I read the list and I was like, okay, I've been coached by that guy, anyways, I went down 5 coaches on the list I was coached by. So it's like, and I told my dad, I'm like, is this, he goes, that's nuts. That's John Van Blum, Steve Gladstone, Ted Nash, Mike Tatey, and Todd Jesdale. And then I'm counting the 6th because my dad was coached by Stork Sanford, who rode at Washington, who coached at Cornell. My dad won a national championship under him, 2 national championships under him at Cornell University in the early 60s. My dad coached me, I'm coaching you, so that counts. So it's kind of, there's 6 of them actually on the list. So half the coaches in ever in the history. And think about that. That's pretty cool. So all that knowledge is coming through me, and I've been criticized for the type or the kind of technique that I row, and I'm trying to correct things all the time, but at least you're getting the sense of the correct technique through these coaches to actually do it, you know? So I may not model it totally, but I am telling you how to do it. So, and I'm also trying to correct, you know, things constantly, because we all know the best athletes will, in any sport, will always try to refine their form and be better. You're never really perfect, to quote, you know, some other Olympic athletes. You know, you're always trying to get there.
Exactly. How many perfect strokes have you done?
I know a few guys who actually have the perfect stroke. One is well, they're Americans, but one is actually Jeff Klepacki was described as having the perfect stroke. He was in the national team. He was a 3-time Olympian, a stroke on the U.S. team. I'm actually good friends with him, but also really good friends with his brother, Brian Klepacki. And then Jason Reed is another one. Not a big guy, won an Olympic gold in 2004, a good friend of mine. And him and anyways, you know, there's many others, but or not many others, but those are 2 guys that come to mind as describing the perfect stroke. So
That's great advice. Now I have to go and look them all up on YouTube.
yeah.
How did you pick the name Rowworks for the studio?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was coming up with names. Row House was one of them. Ironically, now that's a big studio, but Rowworks was kind of an original thing I came up with as far as having my own kind of page online, making it kind of my own, an original name. Basically, rowing works. That's kind of like how I came up with it. Row works, as far as like an X to make it extreme, I guess, or to make it my signature kind of style. Some people say rower X. It's actually just row works. So it kind of goes fluid with that name. But it's pretty simple. Just rowing works for everything. So row works. So that's how I came up with that.
Now, I'm intrigued by your description of the coaches telling stories in class. What sort of stories do you tell?
Lots of stories. Some good, some bad, some ugly. Mostly good. But yeah, I definitely tell lots of stories. Whatever comes to mind, I'll be rowing along, and a member will be, I don't know, the head will be going like this during the stroke, and I'll tell them, hey, listen, your body will follow where your head goes. And then I'll tell a story based off that, just right off that experience. I was in a triathlon one time in Santa Barbara, and was going really hard, pushing for first place. I did actually get first place in that triathlon. It came at a price to pay. I led on the bike, but I passed on the bike. Some guy was trying to draft me, and which is illegal. You're not supposed to draft in triathlon. And so I pushed a little more, and I got in the lead, but I was exhausted, and my head kind of tilted like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally veered off the road. And I veered off the road into a bunch of plants and brush and wildlife. And then I got back on. I thought I was going to ditch and crash, but I didn't. I was going over 20 miles an hour. Luckily, I got back on the road. I had a piece of hay stuck in my bike, at the transition, some kid was like, "Look at mommy, look at that bike. It has a piece of tree in it," because I had gone through the brush. And I told people like, "Hey, listen, this is an example, not just in rowing, but in other sports. If your head goes somewhere, your body's going to follow." And so there's those personal stories through experience where I tell people, yeah, hey, I've done it. I know this is what's going on. The extent of that goes to, I mean, a lot of different things. So anything that comes up, I'll like think of something, I'll tell it. And some people have heard it a lot of times. So I'll have to be like, bear with me, and they're like, "Oh, we've heard this story." But some people have like, "That's a new one," and they've been to class like 5 years. So I have lots to tell. But that's just kind of, people kind of differentiate me with that. But I just kind of, it's not on purpose. It's just through my own, I don't know how I am. Maybe it's my mom too. They like to talk and tell stories. So maybe it's through them growing up.
The tilting the head thing is really real. I coached an 8 once at university, and there was one girl who rode along with her head on one side, and I had her sit upright with her head upright. As they were rowing, I said, "Right, now drop your head to the side." And she did, and the whole boat just crashed right down. And she had
Yeah.
no idea the effect she was having.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So that's, just one thing. And I also like to go over misconceptions about rowing big time, because I feel like there's so many misconceptions. Rowing's all arms, rowing's easy, rowing's hard, as far as, and then so there's perception and reality. And I love to go over those as far as, just telling people, hey, this is what rowing is. Respect it. Also, take your time. It's going to take time to learn it. I feel like in this day and age, that's really tough, because our, learning process, our patients are like this. So to find like funny, we have to find entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Go to any sporting event now, and it's like constant entertainment. So you have to find ways to engage with the client, or engage with people, and then also mix it up. We do a lot of intervals in class. The stories provide just another thing, and it's real. Like, it's not fake. I'm not faking anything. It's all real, which is cool. Like, and I feel like I have a gift. Like, I've been coached by these greats and know a lot of people I rode with at Berkeley and national team, and not only from the US, but people from around the world. I've met Redgrave and Pinset, which is an honor, at the head of the Charles. I'm a huge fan. I met Olaf Tufte.
He's super.
I have a great story about him, actually, if you want to hear it. But that's something I think a lot of people know online. When he was cutting wood in his backyard and missed and cut off half his foot, and he's laughing.
I heard that.
Yeah, the guy is insane. So, but no, I mean, I mentioned that I was like, oh, when I met him, I'm like, hey, I saw you on YouTube, and he's like, oh yeah, and I was like, oh, So it's just funny things, like meeting lots of great people in the sport, just lots of stories, making it original, and it's been fun.
It's brilliant. I want to come to your class now.
Yeah. Well, now the pressure's on. So
now let's talk a little bit about cross training workouts, because of course you can use rowing and indoor rowing as support for a lot of different sports. How many different sport athletes do you train?
I have a few right now, just a handful, like 5-10 athletes that I train. I've trained a few through Ironman and triathlon competitions. I'm training one actually right now this weekend. She's training for her first full Ironman in Arizona. I'm actually doing the race this Sunday. It's going to be my 16th full Ironman. I just finished the Ironman World Championships in October, which is a huge deal to even qualify and compete in Hawaii. That was brutal race. I actually swallowed too much water and got sick, and it ended up being a pretty awful race for me, actually one of the worst, but I did manage to finish. So I'm looking forward to a little redemption in Arizona. The temperature is going to be much cooler, much drier, and much faster. So, but yeah, I'm coaching this gal in Gina that's been taking our rowing classes for over a year now. And she's trying to finish her first full Ironman, and I'm going to be on the course with her this weekend. It's be really special. And then I've trained in the past through various fitness marathons, cycling events, rowing events. Yeah, just I coached Loyola Marymount in the past a couple times, 2 stints at Loyola for the men. And just, constantly just trying to push and tell people like there's other ways to train, and rowing is a huge one. I mean, VO2 max, highest VO2 max ever tested. Rowers, some of the fittest people endurance wise in the world, rowers. I've known them. I've done other fitness events, not to discount running and cycling, huge, but rowers are the pain you have to sustain is another level. And I go there, and during a lot of races, I go to that pain, that threshold. And I have conversations with myself during a race. I'm like, these other guys don't know what it's like. They don't know how to push themselves like I do. And so I'll push it even harder than they ever can imagine. I've had a lot of people come up to me after a race and go, I thought I had you, like, for sure. And I'm like, nah, in my head, I'm nice about it. I'm like, yeah, but you should try rowing. And they kind of look at me like, what are you talking about? So, but I'm trying to promote the sport and promote, the what it can do for you. And I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'3", 220. I don't know what that is in stones. I can't remember from Henley.
95 kg, I should think.
Yeah, Henley, I think. I can't remember how many stones I was, but it was heavy. And imagine someone running fast and trying to cycle fast. And
Yeah.
I look like, someone said, actually a couple of people have said I look like a linebacker trying in football, or like rugby player trying to out sprint somebody, and it's like it looks weird. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I love it. I love competing and getting out there and doing different sports. So
tell me, what's a favorite workout for cross training that you recommend?
Favorite workout, well, on rowing, I would have to say just intervals. I have a leapfrog workout that I like. Actually, a lot of members like it too. Leapfrog drills and rowing. We all know that. We did a lot of them in college. It's where an 8 will start, or 4, or a pair, whatever boat you have, will start ahead of you. And they're on a lower stroke rate, right? For 2 minutes. And then the boat behind you is at a higher stroke rate. Once they catch, or in front, once they catch you, then that boat switches the stroke rates. And
so how do you do that on the erg?
Well, okay, so on the erg, I came up with a system how you do it. So it's pretty simple. You set up 1 minute on, 1 minute off, for 5 times, 5 sets. So 5, so 1 minute on, 1 minute off. And then I'll say, let's do the first minute at a 26, and then rest. And then the next minute at a 30, and then rest, and then go back to 26. And every time you do that, you switch back and forth. Every time you do that, you try and get more meters. Yeah. So it forces the individual to row better. By the last one, they're at 26, and they're on the 5th one, and they're having to row more meters. So you get a minute rest in between, but by the last one, and you can change it. You can go to 7 intervals. You can go to 10. I mean, you can make it real interesting and have the same stroke rates. An easy way to do it is to keep within 2 stroke rates. So an easier one is do 28-30, 28-30, 28, right? A more aggressive is 26-30, 26-30. And then if you really want to be mean, which I've done a few times, is 6 stroke rates. So you're at a 24 and then 30, 24, 30. That gets really tough, right? Because you're taking less strokes, trying to beat your 30 at a 24 on the last set. It gets really tough. So that's a leapfrog on the erg. So you're competing against yourself.
I
So
like it.
yeah, that's it. So I would say that's a favorite. That's just one of, I mean, there's many others I have, but that's definitely a leapfrog workout to yourself, minute on, minute off. And you could be easy on yourself or aggressive. You can change the stroke rate however you want. But the bottom line is you remember what you did on the first piece, and then you you keep increasing that distance every time. And then you're playing around with the stroke rate, You have to be honest with the stroke rate though.
Yep.
You got
No
to be
kidding.
honest. Yeah, you absolutely, because otherwise, if you're half a stroke or one stroke over, you could use the quote from my coach Gladstone. None of that counted. That whole workout did not count. So yeah, he was brutal. We were a half a stroke. We'd be a half a stroke up for like, I don't know, 20 seconds, and it was like an hour workout. And we do seat racing, right?
Oh, I was
Against
going to ask you about seat racing because that's the time it counts.
seat racing, yeah, exactly. And so we were like a half a stroke higher for like a couple strokes, and he goes, "Stop." And I thought he was going to praise us, like, "Oh, you guys did really well," because And he goes, "Okay, none of that workout counted. We're going to take it in and we'll start again tomorrow, but none of this counted today." And we're like, "What the hell just happened?" And one time he let us go all the way through practice and didn't say anything. And we're like, "Oh, we must be doing really well." And he told us after practice, "You guys were 2 beats high, 3 beats high, whatever. None of that counted. Don't ever do that again. None of that counted." So
You
that's
never
just,
forgot. It
never
worked.
forgot. Yeah. And I still applied it to future coaching. And a lot of other coaches won't apply that. And that's a mistake. You got to hold them accountable, for stroke rate. On seat racing, it's huge. Otherwise, it's totally cheating. You can't get a fair play on that, even if you're half a stroke high. I mean, you got to be. And then if we were stroking low, he'd be like, "Stop showing off." So you couldn't win. You just couldn't, unless you won your race, you just couldn't win. So.
Now, let's talk a bit about triathlon training. So you're not unusual in being a rower who later goes and tries triathlon. How does the training differ?
Volume, lots of volume. Well, in rowing, there's volume, but it's actually, you do, even though I preach, hey, you can row and do triathlon, I still incorporate a ton of cycling on the indoor trainer. I just got a kicker core trainer for indoor. I do a lot of spinning classes. I used to teach spinning for like 15 years. I just recently quit that last year, just time constraints and stuff. But now just doing rowing. I do cycling. I run very little. So actually, I mean, they say you should be running and training, but I don't run that much, which is probably, I don't know, not that smart, but I get away with it, I guess. But and then the swimming part, I don't like swimming, so I don't swim that much. But the rowing is where that makes up for it. I'm not saying just row and don't do any other things. Like, you got to definitely train your discipline, but you can get away with it. And so that's pretty powerful. And I've noticed that over the years. Hey, I haven't been running that much, but I can still run a 45-minute 10K. It's not bad for a guy that's 220 and 6'3". So, or I can still beat guys. And the cycling is no problem, because rowing is very much the cycling legs. So it's a direct crossover. I always bring up Cam Worth, world Ironman champion, bike course record holder, just placed 5th at Kona. He is a lightweight rower. Hamish Bond, third at the Commonwealth Games in a year, less than a year of racing. Third in basically the world. Commonwealth is huge, so it's not just the Pan Ams. You're looking at all the British, and
Australians.
Yeah, I mean, hardcore athletes, and he gets third. I mean, that's huge. Rebecca Romero, another one huge. And Mahe Drysdale did an Ironman in Australia. Not many people know about that. I do, because I looked at stats. I was proud to be faster than he was, about 15 minutes faster. But you can't really compare because it's different Ironmans, different, But it was Ironman Australia. His was also Ironman Australia. Mine was in Cairns. His was in, I forget. But anyways, I beat him by 20 minutes on his total time. But he's a bigger guy too. So
he probably sculls faster than you.
Yeah, a lot faster. I definitely don't want to meet him in a sculling race, So.
Talk a bit about injury, because rowers do get injured, but you've got a theory, haven't you, about injury and using the indoor rowing machine?
Yeah, so what I found is, I think most rowers know, versus other sports, rowers don't get injured too often. The main injury from rowing, I feel, is that athletes won't speak up to their coaches when they're hurt because they're afraid that they'll be benched or cut or whatever it is. Definitely, if there's any athletes out there, talk to your coaches. The coaches may be upset at first. They may be let down. They may be, okay, well, you're out, but listen to your body. That's the number one thing. It's your body. You know what's going on. You need to listen to it. If it's a sharp pain, you need to differentiate that stuff. If it's really bad, if it's not healing, you need to stop, rest, tell your coach. I feel like a lot of injuries are due, whether it's rowing or not. I feel like a lot of it's due to that. I feel like rowing gets a bad rap for back injury, which actually I don't think is the number one injury. I think it's ribs, and also intercostal rib, and then also tendonitis in the arms due to weather changes or tight grip or just overuse. So I feel like number one, listen to your body. Rowing is something you could do your whole lives. I mean, running is definitely a brutal pounding sport. Cycling is a brutal sport. You're hunched over. I mean, talk about back problems. Cyclists, it's rough on the back, especially if you're doing triathlon. Look at those guys aero. They're not in a comfortable position, but that's the position you have to be in to be less wind resistant. And neck, with cyclists. And so bottom line, yeah, I mean, with rowing, there's no excuse really. You can, as long as you take care of your body, you stretch, you listen to your body, you be proactive, ice, Advil. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you to take that, but just be smart about your training. Take days off if you feel like you're going to push through. I know they have all these apps now. They have all this technology. Whoop is one of them. Lots of different things out there to tell you these things, but number one, don't lose touch with yourself. And even the best athletes who have trained in the past, Olaf Tufte is one of them, actually, that's said, hey, listen, I have all this technology, but I still use the old school, because he's going to his 5th Olympics or 6th. I still use my perceived exertion or perceived whatever I'm feeling. So, and that's the best. You can't lose touch with that. And I've asked a lot of athletes this, a lot of different Olympians, like, what's the best thing to gauge perceived exertion, how you feel? Don't lose touch with the technology that we have. Obviously it can help, but yeah, you could do it your whole life. So, just stretch, take care of yourself, be proactive with it.
Now, you've got specific workouts, obviously, for different things in the gym. We've got endurance stuff, we've got strength stuff, and we've got general fitness. Talk us through some of your favorite workouts for endurance.
Endurance would have to be maybe just long bike rides. I'm currently using Zwift right now. I know it's super popular. It's getting more popular worldwide on the cycling. There's lots of events that are on that app. And lots of group rides. So it's super entertaining and keeps you motivated. So I'll go on the bike for like 2-3 hours at a time. And you kind of have to build up to that, right? But make sure you're fueled when you do that. You have enough water, enough electrolytes, enough fuel to do that. But I would say favorite endurance is just rowing in classes, multiple classes. Sometimes I'll do 2 to 3 classes back to back to back. So that's kind of endurance training. Workout in a group, endurance training. The group is still number one. Training on your own.
Sucks.
I know. Yeah. If you can do it, I know 4 people in my life, 3 maybe, that can do it on their own. And again, I'm going to bring up their names. My father is one of them. John Van Blum is one of them, and Joan Van Blum is one of them. And that's Sherry Klein actually is one of them too. She's out of Long Beach. That's Sherry Kickless, world champion, rower 99. She's nutso on the training. She loves it. She's like, what are you training for Ironmans these days? Oh, I love it. You know, are you doing 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day? I was like, you're sick, but you have to have that brutal mentality to train on your own. So I always tell people group training is best. And whether it's one other person, 5 people, 10 people, train within a group, long hours, combine your training. If you can bike to the gym, if you can bike to class, take the class bike home, that's extra credit. That's time given. You need to have that extra time. That all counts towards your endurance. So it's all about hours, putting in the work, right? I mean, nothing's done well without time and effort. I mean, you have to spend the time and effort, and obviously the technique, but you have to have the time, effort, power, and steady state. So.
What do you recommend then for favorite strength workouts?
For strength, the intervals are good. Actually, there's one I came up with. It's very simple. It's actually a rowing workout, and it can pertain to strength in anything, running, cycling. It can really improve your VO2, your 2K. I came up with it on my own. While I was on the national team, I was really scared. We were doing a VO2 max test. This was in 2002-3. Everyone was talking about it as the good old days with the nose clamp on your nose, not the nice ones they have now. No, this was a closed pin on your nose and then a snorkel tube in your mouth. And the bottom of a doctor's office with Tatey and Nash standing behind me, not saying a word, and the doctor doing the oxygen tube next to me. And I pulled I think it was like a 6-minute flat, which is impressive for VO2, but I was like, that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. But in order to prepare for that, I came up with a workout, and it's really easy. You set up your monitor for 50 seconds on, 1 minute and 15 seconds off, and you pull, and I'll tell you, it's possible. I've been told it's not possible. I've done it, so it's possible. You do around -10 splits off your 2K for 50 seconds, 55 seconds. So let's say you pull a 130. It's actually about -8. Okay, let's not be so aggressive. So I'll say -8 off your 2K split. So at that time, I was like a 129 2K split for 2K. That was when I was in shape. On my prime. Definitely couldn't do that now. But 129 -8 is 122, 123. So you're pulling 50 seconds on for that split, and then you have 1:15 off.
Yep.
You multiply that workout by 15. That's the basic workout. You do it 15 times. And so someone will be like, okay, Okay, we try it. I guarantee you at 6, you're going to be like, oh no. At 8, 10, you're going to be like, your head's going to be on fire. At 15, you're going to be dizzy. You'll probably go home and pass out. But that workout works. So it's real basic. It's a
Mhm.
it's a butt kicker, but it'll drop your 2K. It will work, and it'll trick you. That's the thing. It tricks you to do more, because in your mind you're like, it's not that far. It's only 50 seconds. And I
Yep.
have a minute 15 off. I have enough time to recover. And you do it again. And you could do a rolling start,
Yeah.
that's part of it. Rolling start, going nuts fast, obviously -8 off your 2K, and that it'll improve and we've done it. You have to have your kids, if you're coaching, you have to have your kids prepared for that workout. I would start with maybe 10
Yeah.
intervals.
Yeah.
15 is aggressive, and then the workout I did was 20, and that will land you in bed pretty fast. But it's nothing compared to the Mount Kilimanjaro workout that Hamish Bond and Eric Murray would do. And we all know that was 50 500s, right? With a
Yep.
minute rest. And that workout is totally insane. So people ask about the hardest workout ever. That is probably gonna take the cake. So.
It is something. I have also heard that when Mike Spracklin was coaching the US 8, which you might have been in that crew actually.
No, I wasn't.
Anyway,
That was Mike Tatey, yeah.
oh, sorry. When Spracklin was coaching them, they went to Lucerne and they were leading. And then in the last few hundred meters, the Canadians overtook them. So that's a double thing. That's a knife in your chest and a knife between your shoulder blades, because, of course, he used to coach Canada. And there's nothing like a bit of local rivalry.
Right.
And rumor has it that the next training session, Spracklin said to the crew, you never, ever let anyone row past you. And he had them do something like 25 500s. And he didn't tell them when they were stopped. He was like, turn, go again, go, stop, turn,
Yeah.
ready, line up, go.
That was after the race, or?
That was between Lucerne and the World Championships.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, I don't know how many of them are, and I'm figuring that the coxswain was probably the only one who had any brain power left to count.
Yeah,
hard.
That's nuts.
Seriously hard. So what's next for you? What's coming up?
So yeah, this weekend is Ironman Arizona, which is in Tempe. It's actually the easiest. It's described as the easiest Ironman race in the world because of the temperatures, because of the course. It's one of the fastest. It's flat. It's dry. It's cool. I've done it before a couple of years ago. This is the first Ironman I've done twice. So I have a thing. I like to do different venues because for one, after I'm done with that Ironman, I'm like, I'm never doing that one again, because each one is very tough. But Arizona, I was like, okay, it wasn't so bad. So I can do that one again. The problem with this one is it's 6 weeks after Kona, which is a little soon. Plus, I ended up sick after Kona. I was actually in the med tent. I had 2 IVs. I was in bad shape.
Two IVs, like
2 IVs, yeah. And the doctor was like, "How many times have you been in the med tent?" Or no, he goes, how many Ironmans have you done? I go, this is 15. He goes, how many times have you been in the med tent ever? And I go, 0. And he's like, get that guy an IV right now. And no, didn't take any blood, just give him an IV, and then give him another one. I could have done 3. But it was brutal out there. The swim was really rough. You can tell in the video if you watch it. It was the leader dropped out. The defending champion just didn't. He dropped out early in the race. A bunch of pros dropped out. And so anyway, but this weekend is Ironman Arizona. I'm recovered. I'm ready to go at it again. And then,
but you're doing it with a female athlete, so you can go at her pace.
I'm going to race my race, but the cool thing about Arizona is that you have laps. So there's 3 laps on the bike. So I'll be able to yell at her big time, or even use some of my dad's coaching techniques and maybe throw some water bottles at her or something. Hurry up, coaching techniques. I'm joking, but yeah, I'll be able to cheer on. And then on the run, I think it's a few laps on the run. So during the race, I'll cheer her on and make sure she's going after it. We actually raced at Ironman San Diego Super Frog together. And I think that she told me after the race that really helped her. That was her first half Ironman she had finished. And it really helped her that I was in the race because for one, she was like, "You look like crap." I was like, "Yeah, thanks," because I felt horrible. It was a really tough race. The run was in the sand on the beach. It was brutal, and it was hot. And she said that having me in the race helped her as far as motivation. Hey, I have to finish. My coach is in it. He's watching me. He's in it. I think that helps, it adds to it. Practice what you preach. If you're doing it, if your coach is doing it, then you respect it more, and so on and so forth. So that's next for me is this weekend, and then after that, I'm looking forward to taking up some rest because this year has been the biggest year of my life. I had Ultraman earlier in the year in February. That's a double Ironman race. It's over 3 days. I was in Florida. I had a week after that, I won the indoor world championships in Long Beach in the quad race. So I raced 1,000 meters. It was horrible. Horrible feeling after a week after not really recovered. And then I did 2 half Ironmans and this will be my second full Ironman this year. So all in 1 year. So it's been
huge.
It's been big. Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to never having a year like this again. And also feeling accomplished, but feeling like, hey, I can, just take it easy for a little bit. So, but I'm really happy that I got through it all. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're still alive. You're talking to me.
So I'm still here. Yeah.
Now, Jack, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned earlier that the water outside your gym is being assessed by FISA. What's the backstory on that?
So I don't know like details, but I do know a few things. So the Olympic Committee came to Long Beach and LA, and we have a lot of sports venues already planned out. We're pretty fortunate to have a lot of infrastructure already. The Coliseum is actually going to be used again for the third time for, I think, track and field events. The new stadium, which is the Chargers football stadium, is going to be used for the opening ceremonies. That's literally like 20 minutes from here, from where I live. Long Beach has 6 events. They have actually the triathlon venue. They have open water swimming, diving. Once the pool gets built, that's another issue, but they have to get done with that. I think sailing, I forget. And then they're trying to get rowing. Right now, the rowing event is going to be held at Lake Paris, which is in a lot of people. It's outside of LA. It's kind of in it's south of Orange County, so it's far. It's like an hour from LA, and it poses some issues because for the athletes it's not good. I think for the spectators, even though you have an event out there in the valley, yeah, it's great for them, but I think for the exposure for the masses, Long Beach would be better because it's so intimate with the course, and you have more people, millions, I think more people coming to watch. And so that's what's going on right now. And then the FISA is trying to decide if they're going to allow the rowing event to be shortened, the course. That's the main thing. So it would have to be shortened from 2,000 meters to 1,500 because they filled in part of the course after the 60s, and so they can't do a full 2K. So I know what you're thinking, the rowing community, oh, hell no way, don't do it. But in the sake of what's going, like, you have to understand, for the sake of rowing and popularity and building the sport, I actually am very inclined to say it's a good idea to have it there, and just to really try to have it there. It's not a done deal at all. FISA has to work out measurements and everything. They have to redo the bridge at Second Street. They have to make that a suspension bridge. They have to build locks for tide. So they have a lot of work to do. And Lake Paris, they have no work. Yeah, they could just do it there. I was just there a few months ago. I did a triathlon in Lake Paris, beautiful venue. But again, no offense to people who live in the valley or anything like that, but I think it would just be better for spectators, for the athletes, for the sport of rowing, to have it in Long Beach, because of the history, because of the venue, because of the amount of people that are going to come watch is just, it just takes over everything. And I think that would be the biggest draw. The only bad part is, I think, for rowers, like, even when I heard about it, I was like, oh, no way, no, because they're going to have to put asterisks. It's been, what, 2K for over 100 years. So they're going to have to put an asterisk on that event and say 2K records were all day will be broken, but it's not 2K. It's not a rowing, so, but in the sake of the sport, have it, for one Olympics. What, is it going to kill anybody? No, So, and it may even be, it may even lead to more excitement, because it's a full out, you have to row a 50 down the course, So, I mean, it may add to some more excitement for the rowing event, but they're discussing it. So we'll see what happens. They have my vote. As far as for the sport, I think they should do it. I'm not just being biased because I live in Long Beach and it's like where my gym is and all that stuff. I really think it would be a smart move. Long Beach definitely wants to do it. They'll do whatever they can to have it. So you got the support there, and yeah, I think it would be all around a great thing. So,
well, keep us informed if you hear anything.
Yes, for sure.
Now, last question. Why, your dad won medals for the US in sculling events. Why, in more recent history, has the US really not had the domination in the sculling compared with the sweep at an international level?
One word, money. I have to say, I know I'm gonna probably get some backlash for this, but I feel pretty passionate and have statistics pretty much on it. And that is, look at Title IX in the United States. So women's rowing has exploded. Since the 70s, women's rowing has tenfold exploded over men, meaning there's more opportunities, there's more scholarships, there's more money being spent on women's rowing, on women's recruiting, on women's scholarships. Men don't get anything, hardly. And so therefore you have a lot of gap with that, and then also we focus on big boats. So we don't do a lot of sculling, we don't teach a lot of sculling, which is, I think, is not a good thing at all. My dad is pretty outspoken about that, obviously, because he won a bronze medal in sculling and is one of the last to do so, or one of the few to do so in U.S. men's history. We didn't even have a sculling team in Rio, and I don't know if we will in Tokyo. It's really sad. I know Tom Graves very well, and I know they work their butts off. I support them totally, but it's almost like we don't support them, as far as like a government body, or money being spent towards that. So I think I don't know what the answer is to turn that around. I think maybe more help from alumni really kick in to, if you're part of a college team, if your pride is surrounding rowing in the United States, give back, and in one way or another. I mean, I definitely could give more to Berkeley. One of my fellow teammates, Scott Franson, is there right now. Fully support him, and other coaches around the nation are coaching other teams. One of my friends at UCSB coaching, JP Sekulich. lots around California, but give back in some way or another, whether it's uh, volunteering, coaching, spending time with the kids, or just being there as far as inspiration to them. If you're alumni, yeah, give back and give to the programs, because I don't know what's going to change it. I know the cause though. It's money. Unfortunately, it's the scholarships, the lack of thereof for the men. Also, another big one my dad actually and I were talking about, and this will definitely get a lot of backlash, but what can you do? It's competition, right? And that is a lot of coaches. I won't name names because you already know who it is. There's actually many of them: Washington, Cal, Brown, Yale, Harvard, recruiting overseas. So
Yeah.
we recruit overseas. We give these guys all the best coaching. Then they go back home and they beat us. So I was on a team with 10 Olympians at Cal, and people still say to this day, yeah, I heard there was Olympians in the JV. Yeah, that's some kind of like, that's ridiculous. That's a lie. And I go, no, that's actually true. I was there and I rode with Olympians in the JV. Like, that's a thing, and that's true. So that was 20 years ago, and that's happening now all over, even more so. So I feel like I don't blame them at all. That's competition. Our Cal Berkeley water polo team, the coach is Serbian. The coach will speak Serbian to the guys, because the whole team is Serbian, and that was 20 years ago. So I don't blame the establishment, because they're trying to compete at the highest level. They're trying to do everything they can to win. Washington too has a bunch of guys from overseas.
I do.
Everyone, everyone. So how do you change, or how do you make it better for U.S. kids? I think offer more scholarship, more incentive. Also, maybe what I'm doing. I mean, maybe a little bit of everything, but a little bit of, hey, look what rowing can do for you, not only for just rowing, but for other things, and then get them exposed to it, expose other sports, and get them thinking about rowing, at least. So I know in the UK, you guys have it down stat. I mean, of course, you invented the sport, so it's a great thing. But invented the professional rowing, but you guys have a whole system where you're supporting your athletes, and I feel like we need that more in the US, with all across the board, not just the ones that are more popular, like basketball or football. Like, no, you gotta, like, let's even the playing a little bit. Let's try and get these other sports some funding and some attention, and let's think outside the box, because maybe we're missing out on what it can do for you. Opportunity, right? So
Certainly, big boat focus lines you up for fewer medal chances at
yeah.
big events. The other thing, though, that I think you haven't mentioned and might be worthy of consideration is looking at the big collegiate rowing events and insisting that they offer sculling events. Because if they offered the events, people would enter them.
That is a big, yeah, of course. That's a very good point. And I didn't even think of that. And my dad's brought that up in the past too. The IRA, look at that. It's all sweep. And what's the incentive of sculling? None, because no offense to the scullers, but there's only so many events you can enter in your college career. You can't even enter the big one. So it's like, why would you want to scull? And then you have scullers that are better rowers. So if
Yeah.
you know how to scull, you're a better sweep. That's been proven time and time again. I mean, that's no offense to the sweep, but they know that. I mean, scullers are just, they're better oarsmen. You have two oars instead of one. Yeah, you got to do, you got a lot more going on. So we actually had a joke. There's another story for you. So we had a joke on the national team, and we were taking showers, whatever. But anyways, not to get whatever, but the guys were like, how come, because I was in the sculling team for actually the entire time, and they're like, how come the scullers all have chest hair and the sweep guys don't. Like, what's up with you guys? And I was like, that's right, we're men. That's why we're men, chest hair, So I thought that was really funny. But it was true. We did. All the scullers had chest hair, and none of the sweep guys had them. So I thought that was funny. I was like,
it's the
that's
mystery
really
of having 2 oars. Puts hairs on your chest.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Jack. It's been brilliant. Keep telling the stories. They're the key.
Yeah,
people,
for sure.
People learn from stories. And follow Jack and his work on Instagram. It's Instagram/rowworks_rowing. And he's also got a Facebook page. And keep chipping out those stories, because I reckon that's where the future is.
Yeah, I mean, you always remember any professor you have or any coach. Our coaches Craig was lit up with stories. Amerkanian, he was the Stanford coach, and then and Gladstone would have a few too. But
I've interviewed him. He has stories.
Yeah, he always, every week it was like a entertainment / motivation / Tony Robbins speech, almost like mixed into one. And at the end of it, you'd be like, what the hell just happened? But I don't know, I'm fired up. But let's go out there and row. I mean, Gladstone would tell boxing stories because he used to be a boxer. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Gladstone boxed at Syracuse, and he'd tell us stories about boxing to get us fired up in rowing. But whatever works, so it worked for us. So
that's why I do the Rowing Tales book, because there are so many stories.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
It's been a delight. Thank you so much for being my guest and coming on Rowing Chat. And to all the listeners, tell your friends, subscribe on all the usual podcast apps. And more than that, tell me who you'd like me to interview next. Till next time, goodbye.